Well, good morning, folks. I'm meteorologist Eric Teller. That's meteorologist Patrick Peet, and we're with you once again with another episode of Weather School. Charms City Classroom here, and we got something special for you today.
Yeah, if you guys were with us yesterday, or if you were with Chief Meteorologist Lynette Charles, you learned about tornadoes, and we figured, why not continue on that topic and bring something new? Let's do an experiment. Experiments are fun.
Something very easy to do at home. All you need is 2 soda bottles, which meteorologist Patrick Peet's got right there, a pair of scissors, some duct tape, which always comes in handy around the house.
Always.
And a ruler, excuse me.
Doesn't have to be this big.
Doesn't have to be that big, but that's what we found back in the studio. And also a pen or a pencil and a little food coloring, little glitter. We don't have that here, but that would dress this experiment up even better to show you what's going on. And this is kind of what the final product looks like. It's what we call the trusty tornado
In a bottle.
in a bottle.
Now, this is going to be very interesting, guys, because I have always cheated when doing this experiment. I've always used a connector, so I've never actually assembled one together, so I'm probably going to mess up, and it's okay if you do too. That's also why we have paper towel here. I don't know what I did with it, but we have some paper towel laid out here so that just in case I spill something, it doesn't go everywhere. So that's the good news. Oh, yeah.
Boom.
Paper towel. So it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of paper towel laid down so that you don't get the place all slippery and wet.
So we're going to kind of take you through the process. So this is the connector that Patrick was talking about. If we can zoom in once again, you can get this at the Science Center downtown in Baltimore, but of course right now Science Center is not open for safety precaution reasons. So until then, duct tape will come in handy. So this connector, very important, at least to make the ease of making this not leak so much, but duct tape will do the same. So we're going to kind of go through the process behind us. This is a little article that it's sourced from Teacher Created Materials, Inc., and this is the easiest way to at least create a tornado in a bottle. And if we can take that full screen real quickly, that'll give you the materials, the list of the materials, as well as some of the directions to follow here while making a tornado in a bottle. So once again, of course, it's 2 clear liter bottles, duct tape, scissors, pencil, paper towel, ruler, and of course, there you go. You have the ingredients, and there's the list of directions, which we'll also have posted here with this video, at least for the tornado in a bottle. So we're going to go through the putting it together process here now with meteorologist Patrick Peet, and we're going to keep the social distancing in play during this process.
Bag, give me 6 feet.
Give them some space. So very easy to do here, at least. So we're going to cut some tape, which meteorologist Patrick Peet has measured out to within 2 to 2.5 inches. That's going to basically, we'll guesstimate there.
We'll guesstimate, because I know I'm going to mess this up, so I'm going to use a little bit of extra tape.
Hey, as long as you have the extra tape, of course, that's going to help it from not leaking.
Yep.
So we want to put both bottles together, and that's what meteorologist Patrick Peet's going to do here. He's going to put both bottles together, and we're going to use that tape, of course, to seal both of those bottles together. So as you can see, with the camera there zoomed in, he's taping right around.
So much pressure.
So much pressure. Hey, if it leaks, it leaks. We'll still try to get the process going here, but you can see the tape. He's putting 1 roll there around, and we'll continue to do this. We'll add more and more, of course, to keep it from leaking.
We want this
all
sturdy.
over the place, especially if you put glitter and food coloring. You definitely don't want that to go all over the floor at home. A little bit harder to clean that up. But one of the best experiments, of course, to do at school. The kids are always amused by this one, the tornado in a bottle, just because it teaches so many things. It teaches not only the formation of a tornado, but we're also teaching wind. We're also teaching you about rotation, as well as the makings of a thunderstorm and so forth, and how you can dissipate a tornado just like that when you tilt the bottle back and forth. So there's a lot of things that go into play here. And
just to be safe.
Just to be safe, we're going to add some more tape, that trusty tape, so he continues to tape that up. And once again, this experiment, very easy to do at home. All it takes is 2 2-liter bottles of soda, or maybe even some seltzer water, depending on what you're drinking here as you're cooped up indoors. So
that would be interesting, because that would probably give it like a little cloud-like look.
Yeah, a little cloud-like look. You shake it up, a little fizziness in there. So he's going to continue to add some tape, and while he's adding that tape, we're going to talk about a little bit about the EF scale. So tornadoes come in all shapes and sizes, and sometimes they're weak, and sometimes they're strong. EF0 being on the weaker side of things, that's where you get wind speeds about 65 to 85 miles per hour. Does some very, very minor damage here that will take down some tree limbs, maybe even flip over a car. I have seen that in some instances, and that's typically the type of tornado that we get around here in Maryland. We usually average about 8 tornadoes per year, although back in February, the first week of February, we had 5 in one day across the state. We also have the EF1 tornado. That's another one that we typically see here around much of central Maryland, 86 to 110 mile per hour winds. Of course, that creates some bigger issues, at least with some ripping up of the shingles as well as siding on some houses, flipping over cars. And then the scale goes up pretty quickly after that. We get to EF2, EF3. That starts to create some problems, at least with damaging houses. I know meteorologist Patrick Peet probably saw EF3, EF4 damage before where he came from in Mississippi, and he could talk a little bit about that. With some of those winds. They're very, very strong, right?
Yeah, at that point, especially like the areas where I moved here from my last job, there were a lot of trailer parks there. And unfortunately, it doesn't take a strong breeze to some of these older trailer homes to knock them over. But even regular structures, regular homes, brick and mortar homes, literally knocking some of the bricks out of the off of the house, taking some of the parts of the roof off, knocking all the shingles off, and depending on how old the structure was, whenever you get to the EF3, EF4, to see homes still standing is quite a thing, because EF4 winds, we're talking 166 miles per hour, almost 200 miles per hour, doing some major damage. And then, of course, whenever you get to the EF5 level, you're talking about destruction, demolition, homes just literally being obliterated. The only thing left just being the slab that the homes stood on. And you know, we look at the winds and we can use our radar systems, just like we were telling you yesterday, to estimate the winds inside of these storms. But the National Weather Service sends a team out anytime that we suspect that there's been an actual contact, a tornado touching the ground, and they survey it and they look at all things. They first look to see, was this a tornado? Is all of the debris going one direction, or can we piece together something going this way, something going that way, this way, and that way? And that's how they determine that there's actually been rotation, and that's whenever we know it's a tornado.
Yeah, and another good experiment we can put on top of this, besides the tornado in a bottle, of course, which you can create a big tornado, you can create a narrow tornado just based upon the channel here that's in the bottle and how much water's in there, and that difference, of course, you can create the size of things. So we're going to test this out, but another link that's behind us that we'll get to in just a moment, this is a little simulation that you can kind of play with the small tornado, EF0, or even a large tornado. So it kind of walks you through that EF scale once again. So for instance, we'll take this simulator and we'll drop the funnel size or the funnel width. We'll reset this and we'll drop it down to, let's say, a very small tornado, about 100 yards in width, and we'll drop the winds down. We'll go about 65 miles per hour. So that's an EF0 tornado. And as you watch this play, you can see it's moving along. It shakes the car up a little bit. The car's okay. The tree's a little damaged there. And then it runs into the house, couple shingles and stuff taken off of the house. And the cow that's over there, well, he goes for a little ride, but he's A-okay.
Okay.
He's okay. Then we try to bump it up. We'll take you to, this kind of asks you now what EF scale that tornado was. So we were talking about EF0, EF1, EF2. We'll select EF0 and correct. So this is a pretty cool simulator, but let's bump it up to the worst it could actually get. And these are very, very rare types of tornadoes to see across much of the country. We'll bump up the size of it to about 500 yards. So, and then we'll bump the winds, let's say, over to 200 miles per hour. Well, we'll go to about 200 miles per hour on the winds. And you can see as you play this through, there go the trees, there goes the car, and there goes the house, and also the cow.
Yeah.
And everything's pretty much gone there. It's chewed up. Like meteorologist Patrick Peet was saying, everything is chewed up. It's like a buzzsaw that's coming through your neighborhood. And if we select EF5 for the type of damage, of course, we're correct. So another little thing that you can play with there, of course, the link is scjinx.gov/tornado simulation. If you just search it in Google tornado simulation, it's the first link at the top that'll let you play the tornado simulation game. But why not play with
your own experimental tornado. So the cool thing is, we're not going to get into the meats and bolts, but just understand that by shaking this in a circular motion here, we are applying, or at least exerting, centripetal force. And that's what's going to allow us to create our own little vortex. So we're going to see how good I am. Oh, actually, yeah, look at that.
And it's not leaking
No
as
leak.
much. So that's pretty good. So, and that's a
Pretty wide
funnel.
Pretty wide funnel,
So if he shakes it up again, we'll show you once again what it looks like, at least. So there's the tornado that's in the bottle that you can see spinning, but if he tilts this, you stop the tornadoes. So that's what happens when we get some cold air and warm air balancing out, which we talked about in an earlier episode of the Charm City Classroom about how thunderstorms form. Everything works off of warm and cold air that you get there, or the warm and cold dial on the shower. Everything works off of that, and that's how tornadoes work as well.
It's very interesting. Thunderstorms are very dynamic, and it's all about that balance of that, and then a balance of updraft, downdraft. It's a very complicated equation that once you really start to understand it, it's actually pretty fun whenever it doesn't do any damage to anybody or any property. It's kind of fun to see them. I've been actually, I call it blessed, to see a few tornadoes. I've seen 3. 2 of them were inside of a hurricane, which is another odd thing, and then another one was when I was actually a student at Jackson State in Mississippi.
Yeah, we never want to see
Never want to see an EF5 or an EF4 or 3, to be completely honest. They're not pleasant. They're very scary, and the thing that I think is most interesting about a lot of tornadoes, especially in the part of the world that I'm from, is that they occur at night.
Yeah, a lot of the time they're at night, and of course we had a situation like that this week.
We had that,
in the Mid-South. Once again, more tornadoes at night. Back in Nashville, same thing. This past couple of weeks with tornadoes at night, and that's the most deadliest time. And that's why we can't stress it enough to have a way to get watches and warnings in your neighborhood, whether it's on the phone, whether it's on a cell phone device where you can access those alerts.
You never want to turn those alerts off.
Yeah, never want to turn those alerts off, or seeing us on television. We'll give you those alerts. But this is a pretty simple experiment that you can do at home. Another thing that we want to touch on real quickly is there's another link that you can participate in besides us giving you the Charm City Classroom. This is kind of where we kind of branch off of from our partners at the government. This is the National Weather Service and what they call Weather School. There's a lot of topics that they hit on here, from thunderstorms, which we talked about here a couple of episodes ago, tornadoes, lightning, which we also talked about, and hail. And there's a lot that you can learn from through here. And we'll try to break it down at least in a more simpler way, if maybe some of these topics confuse you, but that are down here on the National Weather Service website. But once again, you can access that at weather.gov/jetstream. That is a free to use weather education program for those at home looking for something to try to learn over the next couple of days. And one other thing that we want to hit on real quickly here before we let you go, as we flip this back over, we'll pull these out of the way, and we'll go back to the EF scale, and we'll go back to something that's very important during tornado safety. We cannot stress this enough. Where do you go at home during a tornado when one of those alerts comes on your phone?
Yep. The number one place you want to go if you live in a house that has a basement, that is going to be your first go-to. Everybody in the household should know this, from your 4-year-old kid to your 84-year-old grandpa. That is the place where everybody needs to go. If you get the alert on your phone, on the radio, on the TV, if you see us telling you to shelter in place, that's where you should go. Now, another option, because every home isn't built with a basement and some people live in apartments, you want to find an interior room. And what we mean by an interior room is, look at your house. All the 4 walls, that's exterior. You want to get away from all the walls, all the windows, all the doors, as far away from that as possible. Now, for most of us, that's either going to be a walk-in closet or a bathroom. If I had to choose between the two, I'd go to the walk-in closet first. But if not, the bathroom is always a second option.
If you're in the bathroom, of course, get down in the tub,
tub
as low as you can as possible, because the wind will go over top of that surface because you're buried within the walls of the tub. At least you have 3 or 4 walls instead of one over top of you protecting you there in the tub. So we can't stress that enough. If you're outside and you don't have anywhere to go, don't go underneath an underpass.
No.
That's no good. We want you to go into a ditch.
And that sounds messy. I'm scared of snakes, so I understand your pain. But it's either if you see a tornado coming at you, that is going to be your best bet of survival. You're trying to get low, so what you're trying to do is get out of the wind path. Get out of the wind path of that rotation, because much like the cow in the simulation in the car, you can fly. And I only know of one case of someone being essentially sucked up by a tornado and flying, and that was a student like in 2006. He was actually a senior in high school, and I want to say that it was in the Midwest, but he was thrown 1,307 feet and he survived with just a bruise on his head. But everybody's not that lucky. These tornadoes are dangerous, and you want to get out of that wind. Whatever you can do to get out of that wind path of the storm, that's what you want to do.
And of course, in the earlier episode about tornadoes from Chief Meteorologist Lynette Charles, all of those things are reiterated in that episode, so you can check back to that. But once again, we wanted to kind of show you something that you can easily do at home, whether you're young or old.
Little experiment
Making a tornado in a bottle. All you need is 2 2-liter bottles, some duct tape, and you're pretty much on your way. If you add some glitter, though, and some food coloring,
It makes it a little bit pretty.
it makes it a little bit prettier out there.
If you have 2 kids, let them pick a color: green, yellow, pink, blue, red. Let them make their own colored tornadoes.
Yeah.
Maybe a combination of colors.
Hey, and we would love to see them. If you have a picture of one of these after you're done making it, please send it our way. Drop it in our email or our social media pages, and we would love to see it, and maybe we can put it up on air. We hope to have some more experiments like this in the coming days ahead, and we hope this helps teach you a little bit about tornadoes.
And if not, we hope you had a little bit of fun being a science nerd like us.
Yeah. For now, have a great rest of your week, and stay healthy out there.
All righty.